So we're looking at a wide variety of elections around the world, all of them dealing with direct executive elections. And what we found was that there were a few things that really did a good job of predicting the election outcomes. The first one is obviously the openness of the elections, whether or not the institutions were democratic and open. Another one was whether or not the person who was running for the incumbent party actually held the office at the time they were running. It's an extension of something that we well know in the United States of the incumbent advantage. The person who actually holds the seat is able to use their authority and power and also name recognition in order to improve their chances of winning subsequent elections. However, the one thing that we found really predicted elections quite well under a wide variety of conditions in a wide variety of countries is, and a lot of people wouldn't normally find this surprising, but given the recent election contest, now it does seem surprising again, is the election polls. That where there was a poll, it was reasonably good at predicting the election outcome, even in some places where you wouldn't necessarily think that you'd be able to have accurate polling. So the reason why polls prove predictive is we've had a relatively well-defined set of procedures that have now expanded across the world for trying to tap public opinion. And this did better than a lot of the structural features that we looked at, such as economic development, in predicting what the ultimate outcome of the election would be. What's interesting about it is that these techniques that people have been using, for decades in the United States and that we now take for granted here seem to also be successful in a lot of other places where polling techniques have not been utilized as effectively. Even in places where it might be difficult to do, for example, a telephone poll, social scientists have figured out ways to do polls by randomly knocking on doors or by utilizing other techniques. After the most recent presidential election, I think a lot of people are coming away from this saying, well, the data people, the quantoids, whatever term you want to use, they don't really know what they're talking about. There were commentators who were on CNN, MSNBC, saying things like, today was the day that data died, or it's going to be a long time before the people doing polls are ever trusted again. Our president-elect recently tweeted out in response to the finding of some polls that he has the lowest approval rating of any president in the last 40 years entering into office. He tweeted that nobody's going to ever trust those unreliable polls, that they're the same ones that predicted the election wrong. And we've heard this before. In 1946, in the Truman-Dewey election, after Truman defeated Dewey, there were a number of people who said the exact same things about polling data. The New York Times, for example, suggested that no poll can compute the subtleties of human behavior. This study suggests differently. It suggests that, by and large, polling data is accurate and can be utilized not just in the United States, but globally to predict election outcomes.